Welcome to the 6th episode of the Leadventure Thriving at Work podcast. My name is Sabina Lammert, and today I would like to guide you through a digital visualization that I just finished on my iPad from a book. It's about a book called Visualise, Think, Feel, Perform like the Top 100% from Maya Raichoora. And this book talks about different mental visualization techniques that you can use to, for example, visualize a desired goal, to put your body in a mental state of where you have already gone through a process or already achieved a desired goal, so that you prepare your body and your brain mentally to enhance the outcome, to enhance your performance, to become the best possible version of yourself. And I learned about the book through a coachee. She recommended it to me. She said she heard about the book, she intends to read it. And it sounded so interesting to me that I started simultaneously reading it with her. Actually, I was listening to an audiobook. I took a lot of notes while sitting in a bus, sitting in the airplane. I was traveling a lot lately. And what you have here is kind of what I'm presenting today is the transferred notes. So it's not the complete content of the book. This book has way more content than what fits onto one page. This is just my most important takeaways. And still, it's always with summaries like that. They're always from a subjective perspective, but maybe for some of you, it will be a good guidance through reading the book yourself or listening through the book yourself. And for others, maybe you become curious enough to get yourself the book and to find what's useful for yourself. Because I think this is very important. Like every summary you see, this is always the summary from one individual's perspective. And it could be that there are other things that are more important to you still hidden in the book. So before I head into the visualization, the nice thing about using Procreate, that's the tool I visualized this book with, is that it also tracks a little bit of statistics. And I would just like to share it because I just posted last week a little post that nowadays, I don't know if it's even necessary to create handmade visualizations because there is AI. You can give the AI the information, say like, okay, create me a visualization on this or that book. But for me, I enjoy the process. I'm also like kind of processing what I've read, the notes that I took in a different way when I visualize it and when I take notes myself. So this is primarily my notes, my visualization, and I hope that even though it's not perfect, some of you will benefit from it. So the statistics here say that it took me 6,712 strokes to get to this final visualization. It took me 6 hours. So it was a bit of an on and off. Of course, these 6 hours are the screen time that I spent in this specific visualization. So it will go up now that we're talking about it and that I'm presenting you what I've created here. And how did I build up this visualization? So there's also here a time-lapse video. And what I did in this case is that I took a pencil, and with this pencil, I tried to create a first layout of what I thought, of the most important information that there is. And I used the book colors. So the book is golden and blue. So I used that blue. I used some sort of yellow that I got from the book cover just for those people who already know the cover so that they recognize it. That they see like, this is the visualization from this book. And I also used a bit of the structure on the first side. So it's called, as I said, Visualize, Think, Feel, Perform like the Top 1%. And it was actually initially think, feel, and perform, like these three words. I replaced them by the way the book is structured. And it was quite a process to get to the final visualization, as it always is, because you have an idea in mind, but during the process you come up with new ideas where you can use different fonts, different icons. So I just enjoy like going through those different steps and then seeing the final outcome. Let's start with the visualization, and I will try to put everything into words for those of you who are just listening and not watching the video in parallel. So the first part of the book is called awareness. I have dedicated the first third of the upper page to all the notes that I took from that part. Then the second part of the book is called Intelligence. And here Maya introduces 5 visualization techniques. They're like, and she also guides, which is amazing, through different visualizations for achieving different goals. And the last part of the book, for this I dedicated the lower part of the visualizations, called Execution. And this is basically tips on how you can implement the visualization techniques into your daily life. So I hope it's not confusing, because I'm talking about a visualization and then at the same time we're talking about visualization techniques, which is what she's introducing in her book. I will not go through all the details of this visualization because it's way too much. I just want to give you like a little bit of feeling of the highlights. And I will start with the key areas of mental fitness that she's introducing, which is consistency. So to stay mentally fit, you have to be consistent. You have to do some sort of cardio, which means you have to use, for example, when you have a language skill, you have to use the language or the new skill on a regular basis, not to forget it, because use it or lose it, you know the phrase, and it's absolutely true. Then there is diet. She gives an example that good conversations are, for example, a way of a diet for the brain. Then rest, sleep, and meditation is very important to keep your brain fit. And then there is the last part, which she calls weightlifting. This is building resilience, according to her, and this is where visualization techniques, what she is introducing in her book, can help. And there are 8 elements of visualization. So whenever she guides through a visualization, there's the first part of actually sitting down. You can also lie down, but posture is important. Then closing your eyes. She's combining it with breath work, so you really connect to your body. A moment of stillness before then, in the 5th part, the visualization starts. Then there is, again, after the visualization, stillness, again, breath work, before you then open the eyes and the visualization is done. And one quote that I liked a lot that she mentioned is, "The brain can't distinguish imagination and reality." I don't think it was her word by word quote, it was what I noted in my book, but I studied neuroscience and this is absolutely true. So you might know that feeling when you are just about to fall asleep, you have some sort of the beginning of a dream and you dream that you fall and your body starts shaking, even though you're lying in your bed. This is because this body movement was not yet completely suppressed. Because when we dream, there is a mechanism that suppresses body movement. Otherwise, we would just start moving around when we dream that we're walking somewhere, going somewhere. And sometimes this suppression of body movement does not completely work. So, and this is where the power of visualization can help, because if we imagine a difficult situation and we put ourselves mentally into the state through visualization, we can actually, if we have practiced that for a while, sense how it will feel like, and we can also consciously alter the emotions or the body feeling that we want to have instead. So we can replace maybe one negative feeling by a positive feeling through living through a potential situation by visualizing it. And this is just insane, especially if you want, for example, to build confidence, if you are facing a difficult conversation. So you can prepare your body before actually heading into the situation through the power of visualization. And she does a lot of coaching also for people who want to become the top in their profession. And there's this one quote that says, "You have to be the champion before you become the champion." So it's the same thing that I tell people in my leadership coachings or in general in coaching when someone's, for example, aspiring a leadership position. I usually tell them you have to behave like you already are the leader, even if you officially don't have the role yet. Because companies usually promote people who already behave like they're having the role. And leadership in this case does not mean you are telling everyone what to do, but you're supporting people, you're caring for them. This is what leadership is for me. And yeah, there's this inner success cycle that she introduces, which is that you have beliefs, you have a potential, and to to actually get to this potential, you have to take actions and you look into the results. It's a cycle of plan, do, check, act. It's like continuous improvement cycle. And you try to get away maybe also from some negative beliefs that you have and to transform them into positive beliefs that actually support you for reaching your goals. Because many of us have some sort of negative beliefs, and because they were told by their parents when they were young or by colleagues in the working place. And it is important, if this is something that is blocking you from achieving your goals, you can also use visualization technique to overcome that, to get to your full potential. What I liked a lot was this one word or this one phrase where she says, like, emotions are energy in the body that has to be seen or moved. And as I'm now doing this training to become a trauma sensitive coach, I can also fully agree with that. Because quite often our body is reacting in a way that is not actually adequate for the situation. And it's because there is some energy from maybe past experiences that causes anxiety, that causes stress. And it's good, and this is also what visualizations can be used for, to look into that, to see this energy and to see if you can somehow move it and play around with it. It's just data, it's not a directive. So when you feel something in your body, and for me this helps a lot, to be like, okay, I feel a sensation, this does not mean I have to take action immediately, but let's see what this data is, what these emotions are, and I can still act differently. And this is also a practice, and this is where visualization can help. So visualization is also, you can use it also in meditation, and it's basically building a filter between what you feel and what you do and make it a conscious decision instead of an impulsive reaction. There's a quote in this book that I also liked a lot, which is, you can only learn to regulate an emotion that you allow yourself to feel. And visualization are this time of the day. So Maya has a specific time of the day where she's visualizing for different goals in her life, different things. And there you can really take time to see what emotions they are, to allow to feel them, to play around with them, and to see if you can regulate them. And the probability of regulating them is way bigger if you allow them to be. She also distinguishes between self-confidence and confidence. So she says that visualizations can help to build up self-confidence. And the difference between self-confidence and confidence is that, according to her, confidence relies on an external feedback. So you always need someone externally to say, like, oh, that's a confident person. She says also, when you enter a room confident, you might do it loudly. Self-confidence can be calm with no attention needed. This is the confidence interiorly that you have inside yourself. You don't actually have to prove it to anyone. And visualization can help to build self-confidence. And there are people who are confident on the outside but lack self-confidence on the inside. And the goal would be to also kind of, maybe for some people also, to align that. And one last thing from this first part of the book that I liked a lot and that I already quoted a lot in my coaching session is the seasons method. I also mentioned it in the last podcast episode. She says that she started to schedule or to actually plan her year according to the seasons method, saying that there is a cycle of hibernation, growth, and harvest, which means that if you have like an intensive working phase, you work, you produce amazing results, then there is the harvest phase where you enjoy those results and whatever happens, and that then it is necessary for a healthy body to add a hibernation phase, so a phase of conscious rest to recover from the previous stress that you had, because working and creating something is always some sort of stress. It can be positive, but it costs energy, and that you actively recover that energy in this hibernation phase. And she's trying to plan her year accordingly, that she always has this conscious hibernation cycle. I love that a lot. So this is one of my big takeaways. I love the picture, and I will also try to include that now into my work. I'm doing it subconsciously, but I try to make it more conscious. And I also started already to add like little blockers after intensive work weeks with hibernation. And if there's a chance to keep this week block, I will do it. So this is everything that I took away from the first part of the book, awareness, my main takeaways. As I said, there's much, much more in the book, and if you read or listen through it yourself, you'll probably find other puzzle pieces that fit into your current situation very well. Now let's move to the second part of the book, which is intelligence, and these are 5 visualization techniques. The first visualization technique is called outcome visualization, where you focus on an outcome, on a goal. So this is seeing the desired result in advance. And you try to picture a desired state as good as possible, to feel it, to sense it, to see how it will look like. And one quote that I took from that is, the stronger the goal, the stronger the push. And this is something that is also according to what I've learned in my solution focus coaching training, that we try to create like a juicy goal, and the better and the more inviting the goal is, the easier we will be pulled towards that goal. One thing that I like is the so-called Batman effect. So this is about imagining being another character to show up with higher confidence, to perform better. And I was laughing about it when I was reading it, because this is something that I do in my sports life. When I do handstands, I'm doing handstands acrobatics just for fun. And sometimes when I want to do an especially good handstands and to hold it very long, I'm imagining to be my friend Caro and my coach, my handstand coach Caro, who's like really perfectly doing handstands. And actually it works. Like whenever I imagine myself to be her, I'm having better holds in handstands. And you can do that also, of course, in business situation. When you go, for example, in a difficult conversation and you imagine yourself to be your super bold colleague who is just putting everything on a table that needs to be said. And if you want to succeed in such a situation, you increase the likelihood tremendously by practicing visualization prior to entering this situation, because then your body can maintain that feeling, that state that you desire. For outcome visualizations, she offers different guide through meditation visualizations. So you can use it, for example, to increase self-belief, to generate hope and resilience, to overcome doubt, to increase motivation, and much more. These were just the 4 that I've written down for myself. The second visualization that she's introducing is process visualization. And you might know it if you are into sports. People who are doing sports are doing this a lot. So process visualization is when you visualize and sense every step of a process. I remember friends that did cliff diving, and when they did cliff diving and also gymnastics, I did gymnastics in the past, what we tend to do is you're standing and you are visualizing how you're doing your routine, your choreography, the movement. Usually you do also like small movements, like I do a flip, I do a twist. And this helps your body to actually already engage those muscles, to stay connected with the muscles. So when you are later on in the situation, the likelihood of perfectly activating those muscles and this combination of muscles is way bigger. So sportists do that a lot. And you can also do that, for example, for a presentation, or you can do it in general to increase your productivity. If you, for example, are in a depressive state for whatever reason, because it was just so much work and you don't know how to start the morning on the next day, you could, for example, before going to bed, visualize yourself how you wake up, you prepare yourself a coffee, you take a shower, you then sit at your desk, and then you visualize how you start to do your work, to continue writing on your book, whatever it is. And you do that 1, 2, 3 times, depending on how often you need it. And this will also increase the likelihood of doing it, because the next morning the body has already gone through the stages of this process, and it's just like copy paste the energy that you need on that next morning to make all those things happen is way lower compared to if you don't do it. So what you can also do, the process visualization is also great if you want to get to your peak performance with something. And for this, you can use your best performance as a blueprint and build up on that. So you use your best performance and you visualize that over and over again. And then you look like, what can I add on to make it even better? Another thing that she introduced in the process visualization part of the book was the teacup formula. Teacup stands for thinking correctly under pressure, and it's basically a combination of 3 words that you create as a mantra. And I know that also back from when I was doing gymnastics, that when we were doing exercises, there was this one word that we were always using, especially when getting, for example, off the beam, which was stand. Like stand was very important, and you can combine that with, for example, run, jump, stand, whatever. It can be just 3 words, but you can also do it like for your business life, for certain situations. And again, it's important for this mantra, for this teacup formula to work, that you practice it when you're not under pressure, when you're not under stress, so that you have it present in the situations where you need it and that it comes out of your mouth, or that you are repeating it in your head like it was always there. So this can be an appropriate technique maybe for some of the challenging situations that you're facing anytime soon. You can use process visualization also to overcome performance anxiety and to increase focus and productivity. But there are many, many, many more other use cases. She's guiding through it in the book. And yeah, just have a look into it if you're curious. Number 3, the third visualization technique is creativity visualization. And it is basically to harness the power to make a feeling more tangible. Sometimes we are in a situation where we have, for example, anxiety. It can be fear. It can be also like very typical, something like pain. For whatever reason, we can have pain. And through creativity visualization, we can use shapes and colors to help us to reduce the emotions, these feelings. And I actually used it for anxiety. Like, it was super fun. When I was listening to this part of the book on that day, I felt some sort of anxiety. And it was super cool because she's actually asking you first, when she guides through this visualization, to locate where the feeling is. And then you give it a shape, you give it a color. And then I had to actively make it bigger, 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 bigger. So to increase the feeling of the emotion as much as I can. Before I was making it smaller. And I did the exercise as she was instructing it, and it really worked. Like, after that, I did not feel anxious anymore for days. So ever since, to be honest, it was really cool. Or ever since, to that degree, to that amount, it was really cool. It worked. And again, it is something that, and I will come to that later, if you want it to work in really intense moments, you have to practice this in moments where the feeling is less intense. But I will come to that later because it's part of the execution. She also distinguished between being anxious and experiencing anxiety. Being anxious is something that everyone experiences once in a while, whereas experiencing anxiety is a permanent feeling that starts to consume your everyday life when you cannot think of anything else because there's this huge amount of anxiety and you're just blocked. So I like that too, as a person who's also suffering from anxiety every now and then. And there are different things that you can use or different goals that you can achieve with creativity visualization, like release anxiety, create confidence, relieve pain, release stress. And yeah, I loved also this combination of giving a feeling a shape, giving it a color. And we use that also a lot in trauma sensitive coaching. So I knew that type of exercise, but I really love the idea of expanding the feeling before actively shrinking it. And for me, after the shrinking, it was gone, or it was so small that I did not feel it anymore. Number 4 is the negative visualization. It's mentally rehearsing the worst case scenarios, and through that you can prepare yourself for the worst case, think about actions, and try to find a solution in a very action-oriented way. And then if ever you come up in the situation and something of the worst case happened, you already have actions at hand. And that's quite cool. It helps you to become more prepared, to feel more prepared because you've gone through all the worst case scenarios, and it gives you a bit more resilience. The thing is, this type of visualization, she also says, is not appropriate for everyone's brain. Like if you tend to be an overthinker, if you are currently in a very anxious mode, this might cause a downward spiral. So this is good when you're in a good mental state, but if you feel like, no, I don't have space for any negativity right now, leave it aside. It can help to enhance performance, and sportists do that. Like also when you are doing gymnastics, like I did in the past, you always have to prepare yourself. What will I do when I fall off the beam? What will I do if I mess up some flip? Because there are judges, you're in a competition, it's important to you. And if you already have the worst case scenarios and solutions for them at hand, it gives you a huge relief. And it's for feeling prepared. There are way more use cases to that. I remember that. I remember also when I was visualizing that, I was changing from one bus to another. So I was just listening, not taking all the notes. Feel free to head into that chapter and to see what there is more. And the last one, the last visualization technique is explorative visualization, which is using a mental playground for finding solution or developing ideas. And it allows that your imagination unfolds freely. Many already do it intuitively, and I do it too intuitively. But she says that it has an even greater power if you use it intentionally. And I'm just seeing that I messed up a little bit my visualization at this part, and I'm just fixing that. Yeah, so one of the very cool use cases for that, and I've never done that, not intentionally. I've done that, but not intentionally. So she uses explorative visualization for creating social media content, and she's like visualizing herself writing down, for example, LinkedIn content or Instagram content, and she's also visualizing like what she will write down. And I do that sometimes, like on the way when I do something else, I have an idea of, this could be a good content, this could be a good visualization, but I never like sit down, take a good posture, close my eyes, combine it with breath work. And this is what she said, like if you do it, you can even enhance the power of something that you might already do intuitively. This type of visualization can also help to, for example, design speeches and presentations, to visualize slide by slide, then also to make decisions or to generate new ideas. So these were the 5 types of visualization. So we had outcome visualization, process visualization, creativity visualization, negative visualization, and explorative visualization. Now we come to the 3rd and last part of the book, which is called execution. And first of all, she introduces a setup for visualizations. When to do visualizations. For the outcome visualization, she recommends to do them in the morning or before going to bed. The advantage of doing visualizations before going to bed is that you allow your brain to process it, to actually also hardwire it, because you're just about to enter your sleep phase where actually short-term memory is transmitted into long-term memory or transformed. If you're lucky, it's a gambling always. Then for process visualization, she also recommends to do it in the morning, before a task or before going to bed. And for creative visualization, negative visualization, and explorative visualization, she recommends it at any time, so whenever you need it. Where she recommends a quiet and undisturbed place, but of course you can also do it in the train, wherever, but this is like her recommendation. And what I like to do, and I did it in the past weeks because I was traveling a lot, I just put my earphones on. I have like noise cancelling headphones. And then what she also does, while she was guiding through the different visualizations, she gave tips for soundtracks that you can listen to during a visualization. And if you do it, at least I can manage really to blend out and to not see anything around me and just to be with myself. And how long do you need to invest for visualizations? It's important to start small. So like 2 minutes in the beginning are enough. Then you can gradually build up to an hour. And the thing is, if you do 1 hour of visualization and she has that routine, that in this case, she's doing like different visualizations one after another. So she does an outcome visualization for one outcome, maybe an outcome visualization for a second outcome, some process visualizations, etc., etc. And it is important also that you tailor your visualization so that you really feel like, what do I need? What helps me to adapt them in a way? And of course, like with every skill that you build up, the more you practice it, the more you become intuitive on what is good for you. And you can move away from a blueprint towards an individual solution that helps you. One thing that I liked a lot that she mentions in the end of the book is painkiller versus supplement mentality. When you visualize in a stressed or overwhelmed mode, the visualization has an effect, but it has an effect like a painkiller. It helps you in this very same moment. It can bring you relief, but it's not addressing the root cause. Compared to that, if you see it as a supplement and you do visualizations preventatively on a daily or regular mode, then you can proactively actually change the state of your body, and it feels like a supplement. It feels like an add-on. It builds up resilience, and you might never even get to that mode where it is like a painkiller, but you just get your entire system more balanced, and it creates a lasting change. So this is really about committing to mental fitness as a habit. As I've just finished the visualization, also reading the book, all of this information is also new to me, so I cannot tell you like, oh, this is how I do it. Maybe I can do it somewhere in the future, but this especially makes so much sense to me. And one of my goals is to start practicing visualizations. For me, the challenging part will be that I really don't have any routine, as every day is different, every week is different. I'm traveling a lot, I'm in different countries with different clients. So it will be interesting on how I will be able to fit that into my life. She also talks about adding toppings, like how to even enhance the power of visualization more. And some ideas that she's offering are, for example, journaling. If you combine visualization also with journaling, of course, I don't know about you, but sometimes, especially if I'm in a very hectic mode of my life, I don't even remember what I had for lunch yesterday. And it's the same with visualization. So if you just write down like a few buzzwords of what you experience or what insights you have, you might leverage your outcome and your process tremendously. You can also combine it with affirmations or also with vision boards. So this is all personal taste. Take what's good for you, leave aside the rest. And the last part that I have visualized and put on this one pager is how she shares tips for fall in love with discipline. Because in order to make it a supplement and not only a painkiller, you have to build up discipline. And for this, it's important to make it personal, whatever the goal of the visualization is. If it's not just, okay, I do it because it's good doing it, but you really have a goal you're aiming for. You really want a desired state. There's something that is really pulling you. Then the likelihood of staying disciplined is higher. Work against hacks. There are like many hacks around on how you become disciplined, how you build up routines. And it's more about feeling and sensing into it. This is what I took away from that. Then show up for yourself every day. It's very important to prioritize, of course, yourself, because all of this is about making or living the best version of your life. Learn to love the process. There will be days where it's better and there will be days where it's worse, and to fall in love with the process instead of the outcome. I know it from many parts of my life because I have a lot of hobbies, but I don't have consistency anywhere, and because of my non-existing routine. And just showing up, being there, and being fascinated of how much there always is something that makes me happy. So yeah, it's a roller coaster ride, but it's a ride. Prepare yourself in different ways. Also for discipline, like the better your setup is, the more likely you are to actually keep up with discipline. Start with one thing and do it well. So don't start with 8 visualizations at a time. Do one thing, do one visualization that helps you the most at the time, and then you can add on a bit more. And reward yourself, however this looks like for you personally. One of the last things that I have noted down was take ownership. The only person that can truly help you is you. And this is also kind of the sense of what I'm learning in this trauma-sensitive coaching. Of course, it's a lot about co-regulation and being there as a coach so another nervous system can get into regulation. But the decision of if I want to become a better version of myself, to get out of my current state where I am, to improve, this is all within me. No one can make me. And if I don't make the decision for myself, no one else will. I cannot wait for something great to happen. It's important to take ownership. And progress is greater than perfection. The last sentence of this visualization. So this is a little guide through. I hope that there were some useful parts for you in this visualization. As I said, I didn't have any expectations when I started reading the book, but while I was reading it and also doing some of the exercises, I really appreciated the different puzzle pieces that I got. Some of them for my personal situation, some of them are already used for coaching sessions with my coachees. And I think that visualizing in general, doesn't matter if it's like a visualization like I just created or this mental visualization, that this is a very brain-friendly approach to get things structured, to live a happier life, and to communicate better. So let me think about your thoughts. If you like the idea of visualizing, of using that in a practice, if you're maybe already doing it consciously or unconsciously, and where you see the power of visualizations in your business life. Thank you so much for going with me, for being with me in this podcast episode. As usual, let me know if you have any wishes, any desires for upcoming episodes, and feel free to reach out at any time. Thank you so much.